Hi there, Hyperdrive Kittens fans. This is Lee Nails, and this is the second in a series of videos that I'm making about the Hyperdrive Kittens history. The first one was about the formation of the band, and the naming of the band, and the first gigs, and things like that. This one is about the first record that we ever released. And it was self-released, and it was called Phone Sex Girls, and the B-side was called Lipstick. Um, I wrote both songs. And Phone Sex Girls was written in homage to my good friend Miss Lisa, the person that introduced me to the Hyperdrive Kittens' first lead singer, Janine Curtis, and the current lead singer, Janine Curtis. Um, so Miss Lisa was a very good friend of mine. I used to go over to her house and hang around with her and watch movies and things. And one of the things that she used to do for a job was phone sex. And the way that you do phone sex is there's a central office, and clients call in and they give the operator their credit card number, and then they call up a girl that's on the clock who is sitting at home. And that's where you do your phone calls. Is you get a call from the office, they connect you, and you do the call. And so you can just hang around at home, do it in your spare time. And we used to watch movies, and then if she'd get a call, she'd put the movie on pause and do the call, and then we'd go back to watching the film. So I got to sit there and listen to some of the calls that she did, and it was an entertainment experience all in and of itself. Some of them were hysterically funny, and I mean hysterically funny. The weirdest one I was ever privy to was a fellow that called up. It didn't seem to be about anything sexual at all. He had this fantasy that he was like an inch tall or something like that. And he was running around her room and doing, you know, hanging off her shoe or the hem of her dress or something like that. And she wasn't doing anything particularly sexual. Maybe she was getting dressed or made up to go out, and and then eventually she'd just leave. So it wasn't anything particularly scintillating, but that was his fantasy, was that he was an inch tall, and she was apparently completely oblivious to his existence. Uh, and funny things like, "Oh, you almost stepped on me," or something like that. It was really quite unique. But most of them were pretty generic, what are you wearing? I'm doing this to you, I'm doing that to you, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so I wrote the song kind of because of those experiences, and the experiences of other girls that worked for the phone sex company. Um, so in the sleeve of the release were all the lyrics. Pardon me. And I just I can't resist reading them too. One of the problems I used to have, or actually one of the problems Janine used to have with me as a songwriter, was that I was very influenced by Steven Tyler from Aerosmith. And Steven Tyler likes to write a lot of syllables in his lyrics, and they're very rapid fire. Every beat has got a different syllable and lots of words. And so, Phone Sex Girls is probably the apex of that writing style, and it suffers from being a little bit wordy and a little bit hard to. And the problem is a lot of bands have a problem with playing too fast. Once you hit the stage, you get enthusiastic and you're excited and the adrenaline is going, and you tend to play things a little faster than you did in rehearsal. Pardon me, a little Coors Light there to wet the whistle. And if you don't believe me, la-di-da, here we have it. So I remember an interview with John Lennon where he talked about, or Paul McCartney or somebody, talking about the Beatles going on stage, and and playing everything super, super fast, and they were over in 20 minutes. And, pardon me, 15 minutes if they were bored. And you do that. You tend to play faster on stage. And so you're talking about a song that's already very, very chock full of lyrics and bang, 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 the syllables are coming. And then you're, pardon me, playing it very fast on stage. And so it's really a bear to get all the lyrics out there. I became a lot more sensitive to those kinds of considerations and other things like when you're playing a guitar and you write a song, you tend to play it in open chords and things like that, E and A and D and G and all that kind of stuff. But that's not necessarily the key that's best for the singer, and you really need to transpose your songs into keys that are going to not just be singable for your singer, but singable within their range where they can really give it their best and they can sing with the most control and the most power that they have. They might be able to sing something in A, for example, but it might be much better for their voice to sing it in G or to sing it in E. And I wasn't really aware of those things or sensitive to those things early on in the Hyperdrive Kittens. And so I would just simply say to Janine, I wrote it in E. Can you sing it in E? And she would say, well, I can, and then of course we do it. But she was really, could be way up there in her range and sound a little squeaky and high. And another thing is, when you're singing too high, your voice might sound a little reedy and it might get lost in the mix. It doesn't cut through. So there's a lot of considerations to be taken into account when presenting a song to a band and recording it and performing it, as opposed to just writing it. So anyway, here in all their misguided glory are the lyrics to Phone Sex Girls. Liar, 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 set your pants on fire, bangin' while you're hangin' on a telephone wire. Selling flirty dirties, steaming up the telephone. Every time you ring her bell, she just pretends she's not at home. Sticky peanut butter, set your heart aflutter. Tired of licking booty heels and crying in the gutter. 8 a.m. on Wednesday, lathered up with Ben Gay. Thought I'd die from laughing when I heard him screaming that way. I got to put a note there. The Ben Gay thing, thought I'd die, when he's screaming. Yeah, Ben Gay does not make a good sexual lubricant. Especially anally. And I'm not going to tell you the story behind that lyric, but believe me, there is one. Karen hit a phone booth on her new motorcycle. She's not signing on till 9. She says she can do calls with a cast on her ankle. Aside from that, she's feeling fine. Silly Sally Spiegel, all her drugs are legal. Whinin', whinin', whinin' like a castrated beagle. Vulture pickin' gizzard, colder than a blizzard, had to get some lickin' from a pinball wizard. There's also a story behind that, but we won't go into it. Ask Janine sometime. Lying on her back in a freeze-frame heart attack, heating up his bottom with a smack, 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 smack. Thought she'd found a real man, shopping for the wedding band. What a mess, he's in a dress and doing the Paris can-can. I'm just a credit operator, stop breathing like an alligator, acting tough and talking mean. Listen, Mr. Blowhard, if you ain't got a credit card, go get yourself a magazine. Sweet Miss Lisa never, raven hair forever, brief affairs with creamy Claires are never very clever. Try singing that one fast. She can't find true lovin', still can't find true lovin', your head's in the oven. Witchy Poo will rescue you, enroll you in a coven. No, that's for a very particular friend. We won't go into that one either. Gotta find a sweet pie, give it just one more try. San Francisco flagellation, prissy leather by guy. Then she'll see a cute femme, sitting there in biochem. Batter pretty lashes, and Miss Lisa's got a crush again. All too true. Hi there, Miss Lisa. Tonight your name's Teresa. You're a tall dominatrix sex bomb. Your caller's name is Tim, and he wants you to be cruel to him. You're also supposed to be his mom. Torrid hot desire, burning up the wire. Betty Blue is 52 and saving to retire. Pretty Penny Pooh Butt, she loves Jenny's crew cut. Now their love is sweeter than a chocolate-covered nougat. Says his name is Big Bob, begging for a corn cob. Still, at least it's better than another boring blowjob. Just a macho queerbait, trying to get a phone date. Barf me out, you smelly trout, you creepy little ingrate. Break out the marshmallows, Rome is burning, there ain't nothing on TV. Three-way scenes with strange quirks, and picky B&D jerks. Why do they always give 'em to me? And believe me, B&D jerks are incredibly picky and specific. That is truer than you'd ever want to know. So we recorded this at PLH Sound in Oakland with Bill Lackey as the engineer. Bill Lackey had been my roommate years before, from, I don't know, 82 to 84 or something like that. And he'd come from North Carolina with a bunch of hippie guys. And they smoked a lot of weed and they were into weird stuff. He was a very nice guy. And he recorded my first solo project called, what was it called? Denial of Death, of all things. And so he recorded that. And so when the Kittens wanted to record, he was really the only engineer guy who owned a studio that I knew. And it was in a house in Oakland on Gilbert Street, 4140 Gilbert Street, I think it was. And it was in the front room, the room, closest to the sidewalk, and up sort of a hill a bit. And I remember one room was where the band played, and then another room was, the room next to it was his bedroom where the control panel, the control board was. And he chopped, I think, a window where you could see, And so we recorded 2 sessions there. I think they were 2 separate sessions. Maybe it was the same session, I don't know. But it's difficult to tell how many sessions we did, and on the credits it lists Becky Hayes as being the bass player, but I know she didn't play on the record. She was in the band at the time, so we wanted to include her on the credits of the record. Just she's in the band, but I think I played bass on both songs, on both Phone Sex Girls and Lipstick. On the Rock and Roll Drag Queen single, which was released, I think, later that same year, because we met Matt Wobensmith February 27th, and we didn't release the first single, Phone Sex Girls, until that April. So it had to have been in the same year. I don't know how many months later it was. And Mandy Colombo is credited as playing bass on Rock and Roll Drag Queen. So, I don't know, did she play bass on Phone Sex Girls? I don't think so. I think it was me, but it would have had to have been 2 different sessions, and I don't know. But on the Rock and Roll Drag Queen single, you can hear Janine saying what I thought was, "Oh God," or something like that, at the very beginning when I hit the chord, that little bent low E and into the open E chord. And what she was really saying was Mr. Oz. And the reason she was saying that was because she could see Bill Lackey, the engineer, through the window into the next room. And it was like, the man behind the curtain or whatever, the Oz or whatever. Anyway, that's why she was saying that. So that has nothing to do with this release, but it's sort of related. So we recorded this. We mastered it at Sound and Vision in San Francisco. I forget who we did that with. They later offered us a development deal contract, which we paid money to have lawyers look at, which turned out eventually to be a waste of time and money, because I didn't think they really had enough connections to benefit the band in any kind of real material sense. And I thought that their interest in the band was primarily uh, songwriting. Like they knew a publisher or something. I think they were just maybe speculatively interested in me because I wrote a lot of songs. And maybe they thought, well, he might eventually write something, worth owning partial rights to. Um, but I think they didn't have a lot of connections in the business, and so we decided not to sign with them. Um, what eventually did happen was meeting Matt Wobensmith at the Club Commotion show that we played with Pansy Division, and Matt was sufficiently interested in us to put out a single, and so that was cool. Um, when we released this single, we had a record release party scheduled April 12th at the Paradise Lounge, and Rainbow Records had promised us we would have the records in hand by then. They didn't show up. So there we were with egg on our face. I think we printed up special vouchers or something where whoever showed up at that gig would get a free single, but it was not cool at all. We didn't have records and it sucked, and you know, lesson learned, never schedule a record release party unless you have actual records in your possession. But yeah, so it was an experience. What can I tell you? When we released it, I remember we didn't get glowing reviews from Maximum Rock and Roll. I think they compared us to Josie Cotton, and not in a good way, which I thought was ridiculous. I thought our song was completely unlike Josie Cotton's. The writing style was very different, and our sense of humor was very different. I just feel like they didn't pay very much attention to the release at all, and kind of just kind of brushed it off, which was hysterical because when the Matt Wobensmith Outpunk release came out, he was connected to Maximum Rock and Roll, and suddenly we were on everybody's, pick listing, and people were, the review was glowing, and everybody thought we were great. You listen to the Rock and Roll Drag Queen single, which is fairly valuable anymore. There weren't a lot of them pressed, and it's sort of collectible, but it sounds like shit. I mean, it's tinny sounding, it's distorted sounding, it's not good. The performance is fine, but the pressing is not a good sounding pressing. I think there's even a video of it. I believe there definitely is on YouTube, and yeah, go listen to it. I mean, it's cool that it's up there. I appreciate somebody posting it, but I mean, compared to Phone Sex Girls, didn't sound good. So I don't know whether they didn't bother mastering it or whatever, but I'm glad they put it out. It's cool. I'm happy to have anything out, but you know, kind of funny that they give it this great review when it sounded as atrocious as I think it did. But yeah, there you go, nepotism. It's like, yeah, Matt Willis was associated with Maximum Rock and Roll and Friends, and was working out of the same office, and everybody, you know what I mean? It's like who I guess. And I'm not I'm not trying to disparage them too awfully much about it. That's the way things go. But it was just kind of funny. I thought it was funny anyway. So anyway, that's the story of Phone Sex Girls, and we still have a couple of boxes of them rattling around. So they are available for sale at shows in the original covers. We should probably get new wonderful covers made, but yeah, who knows, But there we have it.